Do you ever feel like you're not fast enough while reading? Does your mind drift as you dive into that book you've been eager to read? And why do reading lists seem endless, no matter how many books we finish? We're all trying to navigate these challenges somehow. In today's video, we'll tackle these common struggles and explore why rushing through our reading list might actually be holding us back from enjoying our reading journey. And definitely watch the video till the end to get some actionable tips for your next book. Let's get into it. Let's make one thing clear that might sound a little rough, but will definitely take a lot of pressure off your shoulders. You will never read all the books that you want to read before you die. It's as simple as that. And the sooner we realize and accept that fact, the sooner we can start to really enjoy our reading journey. However fast you're reading, you will never be able to finish your book list. Because with every book, if you're like me, there will be books mentioned inside of that book, if we're talking about nonfiction, and at least one or two of these books you will want to read yourself. It's important to understand that first, so we can lay back, relax a little bit, and really take our time with the books that we can read. There are millions of books from different decades and centuries on the market, and new ones are released every day. Even if you spend your whole day reading only the summaries of those books, you won't be able to catch up. And reading summaries isn't the way to go either, because why do we read? It's not just about the essence of what is said in any given book. It's about the process of reading, about taking deliberate time out of your day to look in someone else's head and really try to understand his or her thoughts. And even the best summaries of this world cannot give you that feeling. Reading isn't something that we're supposed to finish and get through as fast as possible. And if we make it clear that we'll never be able to finish every book, even if we only read summaries, then it should also get easier to enjoy the reading that we actually get to do. One thing that all of us can do to enjoy our readings more is to actually slow down. Reading faster doesn't bring us anywhere closer to finishing all the books that we ever want to read. So why don't we just accept that, take a step back, and really take our time with our reading. And one thing that I found really beneficial when it came to reconnecting to books was to read more physical books. Because I had a time when I was only reading on my e-reader, and although ebooks have a lot of benefits and I will still continue to use them in certain ways, there are some drawbacks to them that are mostly subconscious, but they're definitely real. So ebooks have a huge storage, which in theory allows us to download thousands and thousands of books. And we sometimes tend to just download a book for later on, which we'll never probably read anyway. And as soon as I open my e-reader, then I have this bar with the recommendations. And subconsciously, I get this pressure that there's always another book. And as soon as I finish the book I'm reading at the moment, I know, even if I don't think about it, that there are 10 more books like that that would interest me. And that just feeds that feeling which I've talked about at the beginning, that you're willing or trying to finish all of those books, and then at the back of your mind you think that once you finish these books, you'll be happy or some sort of salvation will come over you. But that moment will never come. And to avoid that kind of downward spiral, we can reconnect by reading physical books again. A normal physical book doesn't constantly remind you of all the other books that there are to read and that you can still buy, which is a really important thing if we want to slow down and really enjoy our reading. And the lack of digitalization with just a normal book is so rewarding because you know that you are in control. You are actively spending and wanting to spend that time with the book and with nothing else. There are no algorithms at play that try to catch your attention. It's just the thoughts of another human being printed down into that book, and you are free to make up your own mind with that. And after some time, after you've read a few pages, it's not just the book anymore that you bought, because you can start putting some of your own thoughts into that book. And I found that so rewarding to not just read the book and consume, but also write my own thoughts next to it. And I've just noticed how much more engaging that whole process is if I don't just accept whatever I read, but maybe think about it myself. And it's not just that, but if you take the one book that you are reading at the moment everywhere you go, it will suffer a little. And it's not in that pristine, I don't know, stage in which you bought it, but it will actually live and become a little dirty and rough around the edges. And I know that a lot of bookworms really don't like that, and I've been like that. But I've just noticed that it has a lot of power. You become one with the book, and it's not just a book that you read, but that specific book becomes your book. It just makes this whole experience so much worthwhile than just reading on your iPad or on some e-reader. The third and last point I want to talk about is that we should all learn and appreciate to read at our own pace. If you look online, everybody wants to read faster and give you advice on how to read faster. But I think that culture of reading faster and faster puts us under a lot of pressure to read more books. Because the faster we read, the less time we give ourselves to actually think about the things that are in the book. And once you start not caring about how other people read and how fast they are, it really brings down this level of comparison with others. It doesn't matter how many books you have read in 1 year, or if you have read a book a day, which I think is horrendous. At least if you see reading as something that you want to enjoy and get something out, it's definitely worth to take a step back and just focus more on the reading that we do. And once we stop trying to fly over the pages and through book after book, we understand more of what we're reading, which is the whole point of reading in the first place. And not only that, but I think even more importantly, we start to enjoy the things that we read again. Because we don't feel the rush of getting through the book and finishing it as fast as possible. But we need to allow ourselves to take the time for that book. And if you take your time with the book that you're reading and you also enjoy the book that you're reading, then it will definitely help with memory. And if you take the notes and maybe even write it in a separate document, then you will have something from that book for the future and not just be like, yeah, I know I read that book 5 years ago, but I don't even know what it was. Because I definitely have books where I'm like, yeah, I read that, but I cannot tell you what it was about. And I think that's always very sad. Okay, as promised, here are some practical tips for your next book. Find a book that you really want to read and that you want to read. Not just some guy on the internet or some list of the books that every person should read. But if you feel like this book is interesting for you and it could help you in whatever situation you are in right now, then take that book. Not just because anybody else says you should read it, but because you want to read it. Buy or order it as a physical book. And one thing that I really liked with the last book I read and really helped me with the note-taking is to use a pen instead of a bookmark. Take a pen that you can clip onto some pages, and whenever you read, you don't have to worry about having a pen with you because it's already in the book. Now take that book wherever you go and whenever you think that you might be able to have a few minutes to read. Instead of putting the pen aside, just always keep it in your hand, read the book, and whenever you think something is noteworthy, then underline it, draw circles around it, whatever you feel like, just put yourself into the book. And about that, it really doesn't matter. Don't let anybody tell you that you need a perfect system to write down your notes inside of a book. Write your thoughts on the side of the page or wherever you find space, and draw circles, draw lines, whatever you feel like. And if you do these things, really actively engaging with the author's thoughts, now that's what's really rewarding about reading. And I promise you that you will never get this intense feeling of engagement with reading another summary on short form. And if you now feel like watching another video of mine, then definitely check out my video about the power of habit and atomic habits and how these two